Hi guys, and today we're going to be looking at accommodation and how you can save money in London, and also the cost of living if you're looking to move here, if you're already living here and you're looking to move to a cheaper area or looking to save money. In this video I'm going to be covering one beds and sharing and house shares, HMOs, etc. Room shares. I'm going to be covering different platforms where you can find accommodation in London and the cheapest places, but also the best places in terms of fitting your goals and objectives. Accommodation for couples, accommodation for families, accommodations for individuals living with families, staying in communities and religious groups, and then some alternatives including squatting and some other alternatives. So, jumping into it, for one beds, it really does depend on where you would like to move in London. And if you are considering moving to London, what I would recommend is that you look at where you're going to be working or studying. Now, it might seem tempting to go for very cheap properties. However, what looks close on the map, it might only be 6-7 miles, might take quite a long time on public transport. So to research the best routes for that, you might want to look at TfL, which is Transport for London. If you type that into Google, just TfL, that'll tell you the rough journey times it's going to take you from your workplace or study place or wherever you're gonna need to go every day to your desired accommodation area. So one beds, really, I think the lowest that I've seen for a one bed or a bed sit accommodation is around £500–600. You can still get these in some sort of areas. So I've seen them in Stamford Hill, Seven Sisters, Stratford, and what they tend to be is houses that have been converted into sort of bed sits or one bedroom flats. Now that is considerably cheap and it will be difficult for you to find that. The sort of average price, I would say, on the lower end, you're talking somewhere between 600 and 1,000 for the bottom end of the market for one beds and bed sits. And then going up to sort of fairly nice accommodation in the southwest and southeast, you're talking 900 to 1,500, and that covers areas such as Surrey Quays, Canada Water, Canary Wharf, and then in the south west, Clapham, places like that. Also, it's going to cover the northeast and northwest as well. So if you're looking at places like Finsbury Park and Highgate and Highbury and Islington, those sorts of places. And if you're looking at a very swish accommodation, then you probably have to pay upwards of 1,500 for a one bed. For those with less of a budget, you might look at sharing. Now, house shares you can do on a number of different ways. If you have a group of friends, if you're maybe slightly younger and you've maybe a new graduate, or you have a group of friends that are moving to London, then you can rent a sort of 2 or 3 bed. You can do that by going to an estate agent, and those sorts of prices are much less, especially if you're sharing with a couple. So let's say there's you, your girlfriend, and 2 other friends. You can rent a 3 bed, but you split the cost between 4 of you, and 3 beds can come in at much less. So I don't know, the sort of ranges for a 3 bed. You can get as low as sort of 1,400, 1,500, going up to, in London it can go quite far. But if you divide that by 4 people, you might be paying sort of £400 to £600 each, as opposed to 3 people renting a 3 bed, and then the costs go up a little bit more. So another type of house share is when you don't know the people. Now, there are various websites you can go to for that. In London, the best ones are, you can go on, it depends on what sort of accommodation you're looking for. If you're looking for very cheap accommodation, people sometimes use Gumtree. I believe it's .com, but it could be .co.uk. Gumtree, that is. There's also Move Flat, which is quite a good one, and it'll come to me actually. There's a few more. Spare Room is another one, which is quite good. Again, you're going to be moving in with people you don't know, and it could be you or you and a friend or whatever. The thing to note with websites like Spare Room, the quality, and Move Flat, the quality of the places is higher than Gumtree. However, because of that, there's a higher demand, and there's a shortage of properties in London currently, and has been for a couple of years, and with the demand increasing, that's likely to continue, which means that you should be prepared for a sort of interview for your property. I have a friend who looked at sort of 10 properties in London. She found a very good property, but there were more than 10 people looking for that property. Therefore, they were sort of interviewed for the people, because the people that are currently living there, they want to make sure that they get the right person in. So you might have to go in, and the current tenants will ask you questions, and if you fulfil their criteria, then then you'll be able to move in. So that's just something to be aware of. Couples, for couples, you have a bit more options, especially if you're both working. The rents sort of go down because you can split the costs. You can get a one bed, you can get a bed sit, and I know a couple that have got one in Finsbury Park, very nice area, for around 1100. I know it's possible to do that. It's not very common, but it's possible. Also, like I said, if a couple wants to go with one other person, you can get a 2-bed, and 2 beds can come in at sort of 1200-1300, and between 3 of you, that's not very much, and it's 400 each. So yeah. What about the other options? Well, you can stay with family. You may have already considered this. If you don't have family in London, what you can do is you can ask your friends and see if they have any family that you can stay with temporarily until you land here. It can take a couple of months to find a job here, so to be aware of that it's very competitive here, especially if you're new into the job market in the UK. Religious groups, I had a friend that stayed with, I think they stayed with a vicar or a church or something. So if you're part of a religious group, or you're not fussed by staying in religious accommodation, it might be worth contacting churches and whatever, to see if they have any temporary accommodation available. There are other alternatives, so now I'm going to move on to the alternatives. One is there are schemes out there. I think one of them is called Camelot, and it's where it's for sort of creative people and workshops. These are the sorts of places where they're big houses, and there can be a number of levels, and you're sort of sharing. It's a sort of cooperative environment where you might be sharing with artists and musicians and things like that. And if that sort of thing interests you, I believe that it's very cheap rent. However, you're sort of a carer of the house, so there has to be someone in the property at all times. And there's a number of rules and stipulations, but I do know that it's very cheap rent, and it's good for creative and artistic types, so that might be one to check out. Another alternative, which I believe has been banned, but I know that some people still do this, that's squatting in London. So there are, I'm not sort of condoning this, I'm not recommending it or advising anyone do it, but that's an option some people do. And there are lots of spare properties around, and people do squatting. The other alternatives are, I have known friends that stay on in sort of temporary accommodation. They rent, they use Airbnb. So you can use Airbnb or other short-term letting websites, and I'll post some links to some of those in the description. Couch surfing is another one. If you're young and you're looking to travel, that's good. Staying obviously in B&Bs and hostels is other good short-term alternatives. More left field alternatives might be, if you're interested in this, sort of camping, or you can even rent boats out in the various docks. So yeah, there's all sorts of alternatives out there. I hope that has helped you, and like I said, I'll try to post some useful links in the description. If you have any comments, then please do comment. Note that the prices I've given are fairly vague, because the costs at the moment are changing rapidly, but I've done my best to give you as accurate costings as I can, and I'll try and put in some recent figures in the description as well. Cheers. Okay, thanks. Make sure to like and subscribe as well, guys. Okay, cheers.